In the latter half of today's episode, we start to see sort of how manipulative and obsessed Sheridan and Pretty are with tearing Fancy and Louise apart. Sheridan, per Pretty's suggestion, goes off somewhere more towards the weekend getaway where currently Louise and Fancy are staying at to find out what more Fancy and Louise are going to be doing tonight. Pretty, meanwhile, overhears that Louise and Fancy are leaving town. So, in a last-ditch effort to stop such events from taking place, she goes to the air traffic control room where the pilot is, and she drugs his coffee with, I'm presuming, enough alcohol to kill somebody, or at least make them fall asleep at the wheel, so that once the plane is in the air, it will crash, therefore leaving all 3 passengers dead, because if she can't have Louise, no one is going to. Meanwhile, we go back to Tabitha's house, where various objects, per CGI, are flying around the room, therefore frightening most of the people involved, Tabitha, Kay, and Miguel excluded. Later, we find out that Paloma is very superstitious, and most of the people in the living room, with the exception of the 3, like I've mentioned just a couple seconds ago, are kind of looking at her like she doesn't know what she's talking about when she sees in this broken piece of mirror Teresa being killed by Juanita. Miguel starts to wonder if Tabitha is involved in this and if it's all her doing, while Tabby hopes that it's magic, just being magic, and hopefully nothing too terribly dark will come of it. She also starts to wonder if she should grab Endora and get the hell out of Dodge. So in the last portion of today's episode, we find out that the Ethan and Teresa reunion has been just a fantasy on Teresa's part, hoping that's how her reunion with Ethan will take place. She ends up in the bathroom, sort of wanting to dry her tears so that Ethan doesn't see her crying, while Ethan, who has stepped into the room by now, starts to ponder who it could be. Gwen eventually comes back into the room, much to most of our dismay, and asks Ethan if he's responsible for doing something this romantic, while he assumes that she was the party involved. Gwen also states that it seems very in character for Teresa, and that if she didn't know Teresa was dead, then she would have assumed it was on her part. Teresa is sort of having second thoughts about the whole thing, wondering if Ethan will be angry with her for keeping the truth from him, but then she sort of reiterates to herself that their love has overcome anything and that it will overcome this. She also is kind of irritated that Gwen has appeared because now her reunion with Ethan won't end up like it is. In the ending scene, though, when Gwen and Ethan hear noises in the bathroom, to which they attempt to go and investigate, we see Teresa with this look of pride on her face that Gwen will finally be outed and Teresa will have her revenge when she reunites with Ethan, and therefore Gwen is left out in the cold. On the next Passions, Pretty remains unfazed by the fact that Louise, the pilot, and Fancy are about to be killed. Gwen opens the bathroom door by chopping it down with an axe. Julian is shocked that somebody could do this to him, and Eve tells Vincent that his water broke and he's about to give birth. So that's basically it for the audio cast of today's show. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I had kind of a fun time, but I guess I'll see you all tomorrow with either a written summary of tomorrow's show or just another audio cast. So, I hope you guys have a good afternoon. Bye.